Micah Parsons had a very telling quote about the Cowboys' run defense, and we'll look into it, but also what other issues come up on tape. Let's talk about it. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network, and catching up with you Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with quick-hitting videos such as this one. Cowboys run defense, it was a problem, no question about it. Micah Parsons had a quote after the game where he said same thing when he was asked what the heck happened on Sunday. He added, right now, we just got people trying to be Superman. People just gotta own their jobs. We don't need any Supermans. We just need 11 guys playing together. I have some questions about what he's talking about there. There's one play, and I'm just gonna jump forward to it. It was relatively late-ish in the game. By then, the Ravens had already established that they were gonna be able to just run on you at will. But still, this play, I think, perfectly explains what Micah specifically is talking about. And then we'll look at some of the other issues that you could see on tape. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and you're going to see that this is 3rd and 1 that we are talking about right here in the third quarter, with the Ravens already up 21-6. So the game by then was already quite difficult to win. But when Micah Parsons talks about people doing their job, and you see Derrick Henry just shoot through the middle of the defense here, stiff-arming Kalen Carson and doing all that, you get a perfect example of what he's talking about. I want you to see the alignment here. It's a weird one, but this is short yardage, so this is where teams like to get exotic. Obviously, you see the Ravens come out in a very heavy package, right, where they've got their fullback over here. They've got 2 tight ends to the right side. They get exotic, right? And you can see how the Cowboys are matching this with Damone Clark at the line. The same with Lawrence. You get Oza over here to the right guard. You get Mazi Smith over the nose. To the weak side, you don't see too many bodies, right? You basically see kind of like a 3-on-3 thing going on here. Micah is looking evidently like the force player, so he's going to set the edge. Donovan Wilson, I mean, just by the look of this alignment, absolutely has to take care of the B gap, and then you assume maybe Mazi Smith takes the A gap and Eric Kendricks has the opposite A gap over here, right? That's what the logic would indicate. But I want you to look at Dono, and I want you to think of Micah Parsons' quote talking about not trying to be Superman and just doing your job. Because listen, I am not a football coach. I've never coached in my life. And I barely played. Played 1 year of high school football. But let me tell you something, man. That does not look like the right run fit for Donovan Wilson. There's no way. There's just no way he's supposed to go there, right? And I'm not on the room. I'm not on the defensive meeting. So we might be wrong. But if I'm wrong, then I'm not sure who is supposed to take that B gap over here. Because I'm not betting on the idea of being Mazi Smith going all the way over here. And I'm not betting on anyone else being the force player, because you can see Micah is clearly showing collar to the edge, and you can see no one else would be the force player if it's not him. So this has to be Dono's gap. And it wouldn't make sense for him to be all the way over here, right? Derrick Henry shoots through that gap and then just does Derrick Henry things at the second level. So I think when Micah talks about, getting on the same page, doing everyone's job, and people trying not to be Superman, I think that is the kind of play he's talking about. Now, this isn't the only example where you could see something like this, but it's perhaps the most frustrating one because it's such a big play for the Ravens in that moment of the game. Obviously, the Ravens go on to score a touchdown, and then when the Cowboys get the ball back, it's 28-6, and it's not looking pretty for Dallas. That, however, was not my only issue with the run defense, and I've only gone through the tape once, so I'm looking forward to, looking forward to might be an overstatement, but I look forward to rewinding this and breaking down some more plays and looking at it carefully. But there's one big theme that I saw, and John Owning from PFF put together his usual thread, and that's a great content. You should go check it out. He tweeted a lot about this. I actually read the thread before diving into the old 22 myself, so I was already on the lookout for that. Shout out to John Owning. But he talked about the technique that the Cowboys were using to stop the Ravens' zone read, which is basically the read option with the quarterback. And what he was pointing out is that the Cowboys are using a scrape exchange, which basically means that, this is going to be a zone read where Lamar is going to potentially hand it off to Derrick Henry here, and Lamar is going to be staring down Micah Parsons, to decide whether he's keeping it or not keeping it. Usually, they would leave Micah Parsons unblocked, and Micah would have to make that decision. What the Cowboys are doing here with the technique that I'm just going to show you the play before I break it down, is they're going to take Micah's decision off of his own hands. So they're not going to allow Micah to choose whether he's sticking with Lamar or the running back. They're going to tell Micah, crash, go to the running back, and then we'll replace you with the linebacker. Look at Kendricks here, number 50. Then you will be replaced by Kendricks, right? And this is obviously not a successful play for the Cowboys defense, but that's basically the logic behind using a scrape exchange. The exchange is for the fact that you're basically exchanging the responsibilities that Kendricks has versus what Parsons has to do. And this is Parsons just crashing the play, and then Kendricks basically replacing him as a defensive end. Didn't work out, as you can see in this particular play. But I'm not sure about the philosophy before even going into this game with this game plan. Because it feels to me that when you're defending a zone read team, you got to decide who do you want to keep the ball. And I'll be damned if you go into a game and you're like, yeah, we'll just let Lamar Jackson get out in space and run the ball on us. It kind of feels like this is what the Cowboys are doing. And I'll show you another example of this. This is when he scores the touchdown. And this is basically the same look, right? The Cowboys are on single high. They kind of showed too high. Malik Hooker spins down. And then again, Parsons is kind of crashing, and he's hesitant too, by the way. Maybe because he doesn't trust himself, what the Cowboys are doing, which, would be interesting with the Superman comments. But Micah is clearly kind of going at Henry, and then you've got Overshown catching up. And again, man, I don't know why you would game plan things in such a way where this is how you're drawing it up, right? Where you want to get into this moment and you have a cornerback being blocked by Mark Andrews, and you have a safety all the way over here, and you've got a linebacker trying to get to Lamar through an additional blocker, in this case, number 80. And Isaiah Likely has shown you that he's a versatile tight end that he can block. I just don't know how you're on the whiteboard and you're like, yeah, this is going to work. So that's my problem with Mike Zimmer's game plan on this one, man. John Owning was tweeting about this again. He was talking about how he had an old answer to a newer version of the zone read and just kind of got out coached right there. So a lot of execution problems on the Cowboys side of things, but let me tell you something, man. The Cowboys were also far from great from a game plan position, and that should be all on Mike Zimmer. Because you could argue, man, the Marvin Overshown needs to get through, Likely needs to make the play, or Trevon Diggs needs to get off his block versus Mark Andrews and just get to Lamar. But I just don't know how you draw that up and you're like, yeah, Overshown has to make that a play. Because if Overshown ends up making that a play, it's going to be on Sports Center top 10, of course. But anyways, again, that was not the only sort of issues that you saw on this game. I'm going to go, and I'm jumping back and forth with this game just to show you several examples. But this is actually one that it's totally on Demo, on the Marvin Overshown. Overshown was a little bit disappointing. We spent a full week basically talking about how Overshown needs to play more. He needs to play more, and it wasn't a great game for him. I'm going to show you the screen right now. This is a play where, it's difficult to defend versus this Ravens team, right? So this is a keeper for the running back. I shouldn't say keeper, right? Because that's a quarterback term. And Overshown needs to get there. Overshown needs to get to the running back. That's a tough play to make. I'm not going to knock him for not getting there in a more timely fashion, but you cannot miss this tackle, right? Like, you cannot miss that tackle. Because that's this is a gain of a significant gain of like 6 yards and potentially getting into a position where they can just move the chains easily the next play. But that is different from, I think this play went for 17 yards, right? Doesn't look like much when watching it on replay, but it's a lot, right? It's definitely something that you cannot afford versus this Ravens team. So a lot of execution stuff on this game. I think in total, Overshown missed 3 tackles according to Pro Football Focus. That was a big one right there. I think we'll look at another actually later in the game. This is a shout out to Maurice Leofau because, I don't want to keep showing you just negative play after negative play. I think number 35 over here does a great job making the tackle. Say Flowers, he's sent into motion. He's given the handoff. And Leofau just does a great job changing direction there to make the tackle. We're going to look at it from the end zone view now. And we didn't see a lot of this on Sunday. There are a few very good and very promising run defense plays. Not a lot, though. And this is just a great play, again, in my opinion, from Leofau, where he's got to deal with that lead blocker, notices, say, Flower just running upfield, and he says, no, sir. Boom. Big tackle there for Maurice Leofau. Let me show you a sad one now, because this is pretty much in the next drive. Man, this is exactly what happened versus the Saints as well. There's this almost identical situation. I think for the Saints it was 3rd and 4. For the Ravens it's 3rd and 6. And the Cowboys optimistically say, all right, we've got them on 3rd and 6. It's time to rush Lamar Jackson. It's try to do what we do, right? So they come out with this defensive package where they've got the double A gap look, Donovan Wilson and Eric Kendricks over the center. They're basically making sure, Carl Lawson is over here on the edge. They're making sure Micah is unblocked, it feels like. And obviously he ends up kind of like playing the run here because he figures out that it's a run. The Cowboys figure out that it's a run. And they didn't have the defensive tackles to deal with this. So you just talk about the lack of respect of opposing offenses when they face the Cowboys. 3rd and 6, you think we're going to drop back? Hell no. We can get these rushing yards against you. And look at what the Ravens do, right? They've got Kendricks and Wilson over there. They're going to just pull the tackle. They're going to pull the guard. They're going to pull the tight end. And they're like, you're not escaping these blocks right here. Wilson is completely taken out of the play. And then look at Lamar Jackson and this complete convoy that he's working with. This is almost identical to what you saw in the Saints game. It's only 3rd and 6 instead of 3rd and 4. But this will continue to happen if opponents do not respect what the Cowboys are doing to stop the run. 3rd and 6, obvious passing situation? Yeah, right. Not against the Cowboys. And that is trouble, man. That is one of those plays that really concerns me, if I'm being honest with you. I'll show you some good run defense, though, just to make things a little bit easier on y'all, and so we don't get our days ruined totally, at least. But this is a good run defense play, right? The Cowboys get the stop, and you're going to see what happened on this one. Look at Linval Joseph, number 93, over the center. He's going to be responsible for the A gap to his right. And then Kendricks is going to take the B gap, and Micah is just going to be the force player here. Let's look at everyone here, man. Let's look at Micah first, right? He's setting the edge, doing his job, not a flashy or anything like that. Look at Linval Joseph, though. Last week, he would have been completely blocked and reached, and he wouldn't be doing a good job here of taking out the A gap, which is what he's doing essentially. Parsons continues to set the edge, and Kendricks just sheds his block and makes a tackle in the B gap. But Kendricks is just worried about taking care of the B gap. He's not worried about a two-lane street, which is what happened versus the Saints, right? Because if Kendricks does not beat, if Linval Joseph does not beat his block, right, his man, then Kendricks would be preoccupied with the cutback or something. But not now, man. This is straightforward football. This is solid run defense, and you want to see more of that moving forward. Man, I've got another play here on my notebook. I don't even remember what this is because I didn't take a note of it. So let's just see what we've got here. I think this is the play. Oh, man, yeah, it's Marvin Overshow. And just, man, that's a tough play. That's a tough play because I'm not really sure what to make of this one. You guys let me know in the comments. What do you think? Right? Pulling blockers. The Ravens were always one step ahead of the Cowboys when they were pulling their blockers, man. And Overshown, I get this is a tough play to make. But, man, maybe he can do a better job of tracking the ball, right? Knowing that Henry, where he's at, and instead of just going and trying to roll over the blocker, man, maybe you can notice that he's trying to cut back, and maybe you can make the tackle there. Tough play there for the Marvin Overshown. I guess that's going to go down as one of the missed tackles that he had, but I'm also not entirely sure. Because I'm not entirely sure he's attempting to make that tackle. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, those are just some thoughts on the Cowboys' run defense. Tomorrow we'll have more Cowboys content for you. Let me know in the comments, what do you make of the Cowboys' defense? Do you think it's going to get better? Do you don't think it's going to get better? Let me know. Let me know what you think, man. And in the meantime, hit the like button for me, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.